Before the world came to know his name, Carroll Shelby lived a quiet life in Texas. He wasn't born into racing. He wasn't handed tools or trophies. He began life as a chicken farmer, a man with a heart condition and a dangerous obsession with speed. But what made him different wasn't just his ability to drive fast. It was his refusal to be limited. The heart issues didn't stop him. The industry doubting him didn't stop him. He didn't just love cars. He lived for the thrill of making them faster, stronger.
Something that the guy can work on himself. Doesn't have to be an electronic.
And more rebellious than anything else on the road. By the 1950s, Shelby had already built a reputation. His victory at Le Mans in 1959 was not just unexpected, it was history-making. But not long after that win, doctors told him he couldn't keep racing. Most drivers would have faded out. Not Carroll Shelby. He stepped away from the driver's seat and headed into the workshop. And that's where the real legend began. He started looking at American muscle cars and European engineering in a different way. Everyone else said they were too different to mix. Shelby disagreed. He believed that combining raw American power with the finesse of European handling could change everything. And he was right. That belief gave birth to the Shelby Cobra. It was loud, it was aggressive, it was fast. It didn't just challenge Ferrari, it humiliated them. Suddenly, Carroll Shelby wasn't just a former driver. He was a builder, a force. He teamed up with Ford to create the GT350 and later the GT40. These cars were not just built to win races. They were built to reshape the entire world of motorsport. Shelby didn't believe in following rules. He believed in breaking them. While most engineers worked within limits, Shelby erased the lines completely. Even with fame, he stayed unpredictable. He worked with Ford, then he worked with Dodge, then Toyota. He never stayed in one place for too long. He always left his mark, but he never let anyone box him in. He was a mystery in motion, a creator who couldn't sit still. And behind the scenes, he often hinted at something more. He would drop clues that his wildest creations had never left the garage. He suggested that the best ideas were hidden, unfinished, and far too powerful for public eyes. So when, years after his death, a private garage of his was opened, the rumors became real. What they found shocked everyone. It wasn't just rare. It wasn't just unknown. It was a car that shouldn't have existed at all. Carroll Shelby's Las Vegas garage is a well-known attraction. It holds his best-known builds, signed posters, finished Cobras, historical plaques. It's a museum of muscle. People from around the world walk those halls in awe. But there was another place, a garage that was not in the brochures, a structure nobody mentioned in interviews. No official photos ever showed it. This place wasn't about display, it was about secrecy. This second garage was private, completely off the map. It was believed to be somewhere in rural Texas, a place where Shelby could experiment without judgment. He could build freely, hide what he didn't want to find. It was his sanctuary. After he died in 2012, the estate began sorting through everything he left behind. Most of it was documented. Cars, tools, awards. But one warehouse had no record. The building was metal, plain, and silent. Few people had ever been inside. When the door opened, the lights flickered on to reveal a single object under a dusty canvas sheet. A car, but not like anything they had seen before. It didn't match any Shelby model. It had no logo, no Ford paperwork, no mention in any files. There was only a note, a small faded paper tag tied to the steering wheel. It read, "EXP Shelby, do not move." At first, they thought it was just a forgotten project or a test model. But as they pulled back the cover, their shock turned to disbelief. This wasn't just a prototype, it was a secret. A car that had never been revealed, never mentioned, and somehow completely untouched by time. It was not a Cobra. It was not a Mustang. It didn't match any car Shelby had ever shown the world. This car was low. It was wide. It had a sharp design that looked almost alien. But it still had something deeply American about it. Engineers and historians were called in to examine it. Their best guess? It was built sometime in the mid-1990s, possibly based on a stretched Fox body Mustang. But from there, nothing was normal. The body was made from hand-formed aluminum. Not a single panel had been mass-produced. The roofline was lower than anything Shelby had ever built. And the real surprise was under the hood. A twin-turbocharged V8 engine. Shelby had talked about such a setup before, but it had never been built. Until now. The transmission was custom. The cooling system was moved to the rear. That had never been done in a Shelby car. No matching records were found. There were only handwritten notes, labels scratched onto parts. One read, Shelby EXP V8 Twin Test Rack Only. On the firewall, another message, not for production. Experts quickly realized what they were looking at. This was Shelby's personal rebellion. A car built outside the system. A spiritual successor to the Cobra Daytona Coupe. It was raw, pure, free from any rules or limitations. And somehow, Shelby had kept it completely secret. He had never mentioned it in public, never teased it, never filed it. Why? Because he knew no one would allow it to exist. Shelby had spent his career fighting corporate interference. He hated compromise. During the early GT 500 development, he walked out of meetings because of power limits. When working on the Dodge Viper, he clashed with executives about weight and safety features. He didn't want safe cars. He wanted wild ones. And for this car, he didn't even try to get approval. He simply built it. According to a former Shelby American worker, Shelby called it his last wild one. He gathered a small group of trusted builders. They worked at night, on weekends. No documents, no press, no gossip, just quiet, focused work. Shelby was known for saying, "If Ford doesn't have the guts, I'll do it in my own damn garage." And he meant it. This car was built in complete secrecy. No approval, no sponsors, no distractions. It wasn't meant to be sold. It was meant to exist. That alone made it powerful. But once the car was found, new questions came up. Who helped him build it? Shelby was incredibly skilled, but he didn't weld and shape metal alone, especially later in life. Yet no one had ever talked about it. No blueprints, no leaks, not even a rumor. Just silence. Eventually, whispers began. Retired fabricators started to speak off the record. Some admitted there was a hidden project. A few remembered working on a secret build. One said, "We called it the Ghost. We didn't write anything down. He didn't want it traced." Another recalled Shelby testing parts in the middle of the night, long after everyone had left. Why so much secrecy? Because the car was never meant to follow the rules. It had no emission systems, no crash testing, no street legality. It wasn't a vehicle, it was a message. A final furious reminder of what Shelby believed in. No compromise, no permission, just performance. The team used parts from discarded test models, scrapped prototypes, and canceled Ford projects. Every piece had a backstory. Every weld was a secret. They treated the car like a sacred object. A few swore they would never talk until Shelby was gone. Even now, many are afraid to say too much. With the car discovered, Shelby fans and experts are divided. Some want it preserved just as it was found, dust and all. Others want it restored, tested, and shown to the world. But the problems go beyond opinion. Legally, the car is a nightmare. It doesn't have a VIN, it doesn't meet safety laws. It was built with Shelby's name and Ford parts, but without Ford's permission. If it were ever put on public roads or auctioned, Ford could step in with legal action. Without registration or compliance, it's not even a legal vehicle. It's a machine that technically doesn't exist. Some believe Shelby intended it that way, not because he was hiding, but because the car wasn't for the public. It was for him. In elite car circles, the rumors are spreading. Some say it could be worth over $10 million. But it remains locked away. No one can touch it. It is now caught in a web of legal and ethical questions. What do you do with a masterpiece that was never meant to be seen? But the car is more than a mystery. It is a statement. In an age where cars are designed by computers, approved by legal teams and built for market appeal, this car is different. It wasn't born in a boardroom. It came from a man's heart, a garage, a torch, and a vision. Carroll Shelby was still working as his health declined. He didn't retire. He didn't make farewell videos. He simply kept building. Even when he struggled to walk, even when he was tired, he picked up tools. He worked in silence. That's why this car matters. It's not about power. It's about the soul. As of today, the prototype remains unseen by the public. It sits in storage under tight protection. There are no scheduled unveilings, no press conferences. And that's exactly how Shelby would have wanted it. He didn't build to impress people. He built it because he had to. Some want the car in the Shelby Heritage Center. Others believe it should remain untouched, like a sealed message from the past. And a new group of builders is emerging. Young designers who see the story as more than a legend. To them, the car is proof that you don't need permission to build something great. You just need courage. They call it the black file car, a term borrowed from secret government projects, a creation nobody was supposed to know about. Maybe that was the point all along. This wasn't a product. It was an inspiration, a spark that Shelby left behind. In the end, this story is not about a single car. It's about everything that car stands for. Carroll Shelby changed the world with cars that roared across racetracks, drifted through cities, and became icons of American power. But this last build, the forbidden one, says something even louder. It reminds us that real innovation doesn't come from teams or trends. It comes from rebels, from people who work quietly, driven by instinct. It comes from garages where the only goal is to make something that feels alive. This prototype has no logo, no catalog, no market. What it does have is meaning. It's a whisper from a man who gave everything he had to perform. And when the world thought he was finished, he was still building in the dark. Maybe that's where the greatest work happens. Not in front of cameras, but in the quiet corners, with no rules and no limits. If this car is his final message, then the message is clear. Greatness doesn't fade. It just waits. And sometimes, all it takes to bring it back is opening the right door.